Long Beach Comic-Con and to Geek Fest Film Festival. I am Ivonna Cadaver, and I am with the television series TV show Macabre Theater. Yeah, it's on U2 America. It's in 210 markets across the country, and I am honored to be here with my guests. So let me go ahead and introduce them. Speaking about classic television and classic movies, my first guest is Lisa Loring, who is Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family. Best known for the Addams Family. She was also Cricket in Days of Our Lives.
Has the world too.
I always screw it up, and she's always like, no.
And lots of other stuff.
And tons of other stuff. And she's also done about 3 independent horror movies. And my next guest is Jessica Cameron, who is, this is Jessica Cameron. She has done over 65 roles as an actor. She then made her way into a filmmaker for Truth or Dare and Mania as a filmmaker, director, producer. And she is huge on social media, and she just got verified, and if you know what that means on Twitter, it's an amazing thing. So I was very happy about that. Jessica Cameron, everybody. Ow! And my next guest, last but not least, is Mr. Dean Karr. He is known for, he's a director, he's a photographer. He helped catapult Marilyn Manson's career with his first video, Sweet Dreams. Not his first video, but with him, Sweet Dreams. It kind of catapulted their careers together. He did the national campaign for Halloween Horror Nights, as well as recently was just featured in Rolling Stone magazine. He's laughing at me because I said Rolling Stones. Rolling Stone magazine, he just did Korn's video, and they did a behind the scenes expose of him. And he's also did Busch Gardens national campaign, Hollow Scream. And what was it called?
Evil Encore. We're going to see it for the
first
time.
Evil Encore. So, so everybody give my guests a huge hand. Big careers, and today's subject, of course, is big scares, indie budgets, and each one of my guests here, started somewhere, and they began their careers and as young children, in fact, with Lisa. So, we're going to talk about the transition from, doing some of the smaller things to what kind of catapulted them to the next level. And I think that'll help filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers, and I think they're all great stories. So let's start with Lisa first. So Lisa, of course, was in the very well-known classic television show. I wanted to say The Munsters because I did my.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. I know. I wanted to say The Munsters, so I did my show with Butch Patrick. But the Addams Family. And she also played Cricket again in, what was it?
As the world turns.
There we go.
As Carol Burnett used to say, as the stomach turns.
As the stomach turns? That's hilarious. So Lisa and I were just at a convention not so long ago in Ohio. And I was asking you, Lisa, about your relationship with each one of the cast members. Mm-hmm. with John Aston Gomez, and you said that was a really loving relationship. You didn't get to, you were 5 years old when you played the role, correct?
I did the pilot at 5 and a half, and the series started when I turned 6, yes.
And how did you get the role? How did you?
I went, it was a cattle call. I went to read. There was cattle call back then was considered like 75 girls. Now it'd be like 5,000,
Yeah.
But the producer recalled to me when I grew up that he wasn't prepared to see girls who didn't know how to read. I hadn't been to first grade yet.
Right.
So I learned to memorize before I could read. And he asked me to pout, and he gave me the scene and said, "This is who I am. This is who you are." And he was reading through it. He was going to do that a couple of times, and I came back the second time with the lines verbatim.
Verbatim, yeah.
And then they screen tested me with 4 other younger girls with John Aston, and they ended up picking me.
Yeah, amazing. And your relationship, I mean, it was like a second family.
Oh God, yeah. John and Carolyn were like second parents to me, and being an only child, it was a great experience.
Yeah.
They made sure, the cast, the crew made sure that the kids, Kenny and I, Pugsley. We're really well taken care of and really happy.
Right, right. And we were also with Felix Silla, who is Cousin It, and he had said that you guys were, yeah, he's great.
Felix, yeah.
Yeah, and he started the show a little bit later, correct?
Yeah, in the second year, I think, or during the part of the end of the first year. And he's done so many things, you know, from Star Wars, he was an Ewok and that, you just never see who he is. He was in Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was so many things, but he's always in a big costume, you never see who he is.
Right, right. Are you surprised how social media has changed things so much, or from you went on to do cricket and you played the
Yeah, there's no
character
social
cricket.
media back in those days at
Right.
all.
But you played cricket for 5 years, and then you went on to want to be a mother and raise a couple children. So, but are you surprised at how social media has so much to do and the changes that it's made in the industry?
Oh, it's amazing, you know. I mean, it's so accessible to so many people now. Instead of being considered a low-budget B film, it's an indie film.
Yeah.
Depending upon what venues you take it to and whatnot, yeah.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. We said that, like, Bela Lugosi, you mentioned
Bela
this.
Lugosi.
It's Bela.
Well, they won't know him that way. Most
Bela,
people.
I interviewed Bela Lugosi Jr. and I made sure to say I didn't say Bella, I said Beta.
But everybody knows it's Bella. They don't know it's
You
Beta.
said, oh no, it's such and such. But at any rate, we talked about when Ed Wood did his movie, and had Bela. Now I'm going to say it like you, and had Bela, and you know, it was considered a B movie, but now.
Oh, Ed Wood stuff was all B movies, low budget horror stuff,
Right.
where Bela Lugosi had been a huge star with these, you know, big studio productions of vampire and, you know, so forth and so on. Now, like I said, it's indie films, and there's so much more room for everybody to work in them and have success with them.
Yeah, and the budgets don't necessarily drive it. It's really the people that get involved with the project. That was really my point. Is that getting great people involved just because the budgets are are indie can mean big things. So which we'll move on to Jessica Cameron. And again, actor, film maker, director, and social media queen for sure. You've got Scream Queens on your social media. We'll talk a little bit about that. But kind of talking, kind of making that segue to Lisa, from Lisa rather, that you don't have to have tremendous budgets now to make big scares.
Absolutely not, thank God.
Right.
Because I also feel like the more money you have, the more people who get you that money usually are in it to get their money back at the highest amount of profit, and they're not focused on the work or the film. And I think that's why a lot of the mainstream horror films that hit theaters are kind of lackluster, for a nice word or a nice description, uninspired and very stereotypical and formulaic. It's because the Hollywood model says, if this sold before, do that 100 times until it stops selling, and then follow whatever is selling now and do that 100 times. So without independent films and without being able to make a movie for less money, we would not have the quality of horror that we have today.
Yeah, nicely put. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of your work.
I was standing out by the freeway. He said, hey, can you hold a boom?
I kill people for a living.
I drank 2 cups of breast milk yesterday, so I feel like I can kind of handle anything right now. You traveled a long way to get this fucked up.
You got that right.
Don't ever stop recording. I'm getting killed. Don't stop recording.
This is what we call hiring the right actor.
Tristan said she's absolutely not working Monday, and I know it's because she just wants to see Carlo.
But we're gonna have to cut a lot of shit. And guess what? Then we're gonna have a fucking 50-minute piece of shit.
If cops do show up, we're running.
First meeting random B-roll of what he works.
Love you. See you behind the scenes, alright?
If you are not aware of what it is, I'm actually really, really proud of it. I'm a producer on it, and it was my original concept. I decided, because I thought it would be fun, and I'm a big fan of being innovative, and I think you have to when you don't have money. Figure out how to do what you would do if you had money without it, which requires a lot of thought. So I knew I wanted to make Mania, which was the second trailer you saw, which is my messed up lesbian love story. The most romantic movie I will probably ever make. At which point I knew I wanted to travel across country shooting it because it is a road movie, and I felt that to not do it across the country was to do the film a disservice, to try to fake it. I don't know about you, but I can always tell when they like fake traveling across the country. You're like, that is California. That is still California. That is California. So I knew I wanted to do that, but then doing that on a budget was hard. So I came up with a concept of traveling across America, shooting one movie on one way across America, shooting another movie across from it, and then everybody who I know said that is the craziest thing any filmmaker has ever said. At least film it, because it's gonna be a train wreck. And I was like, that's a good idea. So I'm gonna make 3 movies while traveling across country. And by proxy, because if you make independent films and you know, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. So we had so much footage, we've actually turned it into a 21 episode, 30 minutes each series. And that is going to be Kill the PA, which will be an honest, intimate look at the real world of independent filmmaking.
Love it, love it.
You love it. It gives me PTSD to watch, which is why I can't be out there. I'll literally like just start twitching. My DP like for months would wake up and be like, I'm late, I have to film. And the girlfriend was like, no, you're safe now. You're not upset anymore.
So, you know, you were talking kind of about honest things. So your work is, you have your own style, definitely, and it's very authentic, and it's very real, it's very hard-hitting. So we were kind of talking about it, and I kind of love how you encapsulate it. You like to explore the dark places and then kind of go in there and play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To me, that's like the fun part, and that's actually why I gravitate towards horror, because I feel like living life, you have dramatic moments. Living life, you have comedic moments. You are blessed if you don't have moments of horror. But certainly, you know, I've never been chased by a serial killer. I've never been in Truth or Dare, the group of friends are held hostage. That's never happened to me. And I find it fascinating as a person, as a filmmaker, as an actress, to like, what would cause someone to snap to do that? And what is going through your minds as you see your friends, you know, getting horribly, horribly hurt? Like, what's going through there? Let's explore that. Right?
And Lisa, you kind of shake your head because, you know, you were somebody, it was very funny out there. Lisa was signing some autographs and somebody came up to Lisa and said, oh, you were pre-goth. And she's like, what? So, yeah.
The real funny thing was, what's wrong with this picture? The first horror convention I did, little Wednesday Addams is seated between Mike Myers and Freddie.
Yeah.
What's wrong with this picture? But it seemed to work.
Right, so that's why she kind of shakes her head, because, you know, Lisa's kind of known for this genre way back when, you know, and she was pre-goth.
I've done a couple of them where I was actually one the killer, but I don't watch them.
Right. So
what you're saying is you've never played with someone's insides before.
At least not on
You know how to
camera.
get to her,
It's
that's
the fake
good.
blood is what really got
You
you.
know how to get to her, that's great. So since you like to play, which I love the analogy and how you describe that. So what, you know, you've done over, I think it was like 60, almost 65
Yeah, there's
roles as an
65
actor.
on IMDb that are real. I mean, sometimes you get paid to do a
Of
movie and you
course.
show up and surprise.
That's why I asked.
It's a movie.
That's why I asked. But what made you want to make the transition from being an actor to a filmmaker?
You know, I have always been a horror fan, and I felt that there were stories that weren't getting told. I'll never forget it. In 2011, before I started making movies, in the same day, I received 4 scripts from 4 different groups of filmmakers, all from different parts of America, so nobody copied the other. And they were all basically like just a stereotypical ripoff of a group of, you know, good-looking 20-somethings get lost in the woods. Oh my God, their phones don't work. Oh my God, the car doesn't work, and they find a cannibal family hiding, and of course they die. And I was like, really? Like 4 different groups of people thought this was
That's
an
all they
original
could
idea?
come up with.
Yeah. And I was like, there has to be a better way. So that combined with, as an actress, I just find sometimes in horror and other genres as well, as an actress, you kind of get these one-dimensional roles. And I thought, you know what, I could do this, I could do it better. And then add to that an independent world, I think there is definitely a couple issues with people lying and misrepresenting themselves, as well as failure to complete the project to professional minimum standards. I get paid to do all my movies, and I wish that they would put as much effort into paying the cast and crew on set as they would post-production, and sometimes that's not the case. So it was a combination of all of the above that led me to create my own films and tell the stories that weren't being told, and create these really dynamic characters, especially for women, but also for the men, that I just felt I wasn't seeing on a regular enough basis.
Got it.
You know, and I, like, here's, like, as soon as one movie, like Blair Witch, if it does really well at the box office, you will see 100 Blair Witch knockoffs. That doesn't, I don't want to let, the people of Blair Witch, you know, Simon Weigart, they are going to do that so well, let them do that. I'd rather do that fucked up lesbian love story, I'm so sorry, child of the audience. That lesbian love story that's like manic, Thelma and Louise on steroids with a murder spree. You know, nobody's telling that story, and that's the one that I really want to watch. You know, I'll go see Blair Witch, but let them do that. I'll make something nobody else is doing.
Yeah.
Tell us
Lisa's
about the one
terrifying.
that had, it looked like it had a lot of critic acclaim and stuff. It was just
Truth or Dare, that was my first movie ever. We shot it in 2013. I'm super excited. It's getting the release at the beginning of next year. So it's coming out. It's just come out in Germany to a really, really, really great regard. And it was my vicious graphic torture film. And it was started, right? When I was a kid, I would play Truth or Dare. And I always was panicked that somebody was going to dare me to stab myself with a pencil. Because I was like, well, you have to do it, right? Like, you can't not do a dare. And I was like, where would I stab myself? This is like me at 8. I was like, I'd probably stab myself in a cab. I don't think there's veins. And I would go to the library at the time because we didn't have computers. And like look up to be like, where would you stab yourself? And so that was a very real thought in my youth. And then as I grew up, I was always like, why has nobody done this? And I did come across a couple other horror films that sort of played with that concept. But nobody did it really well, and nobody kind of went to the dark places. They always felt like they were holding back. So I was like, let's do that and have fun. So I cast my lovely Heather Dorff, who's in the front row,
Yes.
a dear friend of mine.
Say hello to Heather.
Right?
Hi. As I'm holding the camera.
She is in the movie. I put her in almost everything. She wouldn't do Mania because there was too much nudity. She was like, no, Jessica, I can't do that. But that was my very first foray into filmmaking, and it won 34 awards internationally.
so cool.
Yeah, over 50 festivals, and it was just a wonderful experience. And I was like, let's do more of that.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to ask you, because I knew that it had won so many awards. And I have another friend, and his friend is in the audience here, Michael G. Kehoe, who you know as well. You know, winning these type of awards, I was going to ask you, when did you kind of feel that indie filmmaker transition happening for you? Go, you know, you're kind of asking yourself, you know what, this is kind of going to the next level, and I'm starting to get, you know, a lot of acclaim for things. And when did you know that transitioning, the transition was happening for you, that you were going to the next level?
I guess I don't even know if I've ever really realized that. I kind of just am of the mindset that I'm going to do the things that I love and try to make things that I care about. And if people like it, that's awesome. And if you don't, we're not friends.
Was there a defining moment, though, that you knew, I'm doing really well?
No, I mean, I guess I just don't. I'm Canadian. We don't think like that. We're all like, we love everyone. You look very lovely today. How are you doing? I never like, I am doing good. Like, I don't know.
Right.
I guess like
Defining moments.
right,
though.
and even now, like, it's funny because like it doesn't get easier. Like that's the one thing that I learned, where it's always a hard time. You know, even like with 34 awards, getting the funding for Mania and Desolation and Utero
Right.
and all the movies I've done since, it doesn't get easier. You know, partially because the elements that get easier are combated by other elements that come with people thinking that it's easier because you had so much success the first time. So then they're like, oh, okay, you know, actors who might have given you a cut rate on your first movie because it was your first one are like, oh, now you can afford to pay me my regular, ridiculously over-the-top rate. And you're like, no, like the money just doesn't magically appear. So I guess for me, like, it's just not how my brain works. Who knows, maybe one day, but I'm also the type where if that ever happens, I probably would do something else because I would get bored. I feel like once you've made it, you know, I just get kind of bored with things.
So
I did that in fashion, and I was like, I looked around and it was, I'll never forget, I was 25 and I was working, I won't mention the company, but I was overseeing like $300+ million of product annually, and I had a really good position. And my high school contacted me to speak because they thought that I was the most successful person for my graduating class. And I was like, I am miserable, I am making good money, I am in charge of a lot of shit, and I don't like any of it. And if I am the most successful person, then I need to change, because this is not, this should not be representative of what you want to be in school. You know, I hate my life. You know, I cannot wait till I can go to my acting class at the time.
Yeah.
So I knew right then and there, I was like, time for a life change. And no, I will not speak, because I feel like I'm doing everything wrong. So there was like that defining moment.
Speaking of acting classes, it was funny that not that he was a huge influence, but Tarantino was an influence of sorts, and I was talking to Lisa.
No, he started that genre single-handedly, really.
Yeah, and I was talking.
Made up his own genre.
Yeah, and he's authentic in his own way,
Yes.
of course.
Yes.
But it was funny, I was talking to Lisa about that, and Lisa said, you know, I went to acting school with Quentin Tarantino.
17,
So,
yeah.
it's
He'd
just-
sit in the back with his glasses and just take notes. He'd hardly ever get up and participate.
And he's in every one of his own movies, so there you go. You know, it's kind of interesting.
Always put himself in his own movies. Yes, he does do that.
Right. So, Jessica, what do you have? What's the current projects? I know you've done Mania, and you've got some projects coming out. What do you have going on?
So Mania is currently doing festivals, so if you're interested in seeing that, definitely like the Facebook page, follow it on Twitter, and you will see more screenings coming up with a distribution early next year. Truth or Dare will be released in January of 2017, so it should be everywhere that you're renting and purchasing movies. And it's just a really fun, graphic, vicious horror film. So again, definitely not child-friendly. Kill the PA is currently being shopped. So that's probably the most child-friendly thing, if or when that gets a wide release. And even then, it's still like the making of the horror movies, but it's told from a docu-reality camera, so it's a little bit toned down. Desolation and An Ending and Utero are all in post-production. So those are all films that I'm very passionate about, so look for more information on those. We have Besties, which is script stage, so we're going to be looking at going towards filming that, hopefully before the end of this year, schedules permitting. It's a really fun flick that I'm really excited to, again, get back to like a one-room concept. I think it's a really great challenge for a filmmaker. I know sometimes filmmakers dog down on that kind of thing, where they're like, one room, predominantly, gross. But I think anytime you have limitations, the best thing you can do is rise to the challenge rather than let them define yourself or your movie. And then I also do a weekly show with the lovely Heather Dorff in the front row called Scream Queen Stream, which is sort of just a more intimate look at our lives. You know, we do random stuff, hanging with other filmmakers, we do parodies, we do a bunch of really fun things once a week to like show you guys what we do, you know, when I'm not actually on a film set. And even some of them are when we're on film sets.
Yeah, good. All right, excellent. So we'll go back to all that and do a recap of what everybody's doing, for sure. 'Cause you're doing, you know, you're doing so much, and you also did that, the American Guinea Pig Song of Solomon.
How could I forget? Yes,
Yeah.
Song of Solomon.
And you named your dog.
I did. I found
After
a dog
Solomon.
on set. He was abandoned. And I was like, right, he's this cute little border terrier with an underbite. So I named him Solomon, because Song of Solomon. But we shot it in Crystal River, Florida. And it was such an interesting shoot, because Crystal River is like an entire world apart. It might as well be another country. The bugs are as big as my cats.
Oh my
Like,
God.
Oh yes, they're giant and frightening, my friends.
See, I'd be good in a horror film. I was afraid of everything.
They're little tree frogs that are like this big, and they quack like the biggest duck you've ever seen. Like for the first 2 days, I was like, where are the ducks? Where are they? And I couldn't find them, and I thought I was going insane. I was like, can you hear the ducks? Tell me you hear the ducks. Just tell me you hear the ducks. And they're like, yeah, we hear them. And I was like, what the hell?
They
Where
must
is
be
it?
like cicadas.
Yeah.
Just in Chicago
Right.
back there.
Exactly. Well, it was finally like after 2 days of running around looking for fucking ducks, somebody told me it's the little tree frogs. And I was like, what the heck? I'm looking for Donald. It's a little frog that's on my windowsill, which is why like I like would run in the middle of the night, and be like, I got you. No duck.
Well, speaking of dark places, now you're gonna find that you and Dean have a lot in common, because that doesn't, those kind of things don't scare Dean, Mr. Dean Karr at all. He likes to go to the dark places. The frogs
I like frogs.
No.
I like frogs. I don't
No,
like
I
bugs.
don't mean that. I just mean that Dean and you have like similar minds in that sense. So yeah. So with that being said, again, you know, Dean Karr did one of the breakout things for you was Marilyn Manson's Sweet
Yeah.
Dreams, and it was just so innovative and it was genius. And you've done, you know, Halloween Horror Nights national campaign. Just did the Korn video that was featured in Rolling Stone magazine. And also you've done the Busch Garden Hollow Scream. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at his work, and then we'll.
I'm not gonna say how much, but he totally rode me down big time on this. And he was way better than Benicio del Toro. Benicio del Toro would have been too old for this thing. Tommy looks great. It's ready to go, so I'm gonna just go into the new Korn one. It's called Rotting in Vain.
Awesome.
And it's funny, I've written maybe 6 times for this band since I worked with them in '96.
Right.
Never got one job, but we're all on set and they're going, why haven't we done this before? Because we were getting a great camaraderie. And they said, I said, what do you mean? I've written for you 6 times to get 6 different jobs. And they go, Dean, we've never read one of your treatments once. And they were dead serious. Their manager was blocking my stuff to go into the band. They have a brand new manager now, so we got past that. And we figured out the problem was their manager was not wanting me to do these videos.
Wonderful.
But I think after you see what we made, they'll be back. Hey, we're at 7 million hits this week, and this thing's only been out for like 6 weeks. It's just
you should tweet it.
crazy.
I just followed you on the Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know much about the tweet stuff.
Oh my God.
She's trying to teach me.
Try.
I don't get it.
I try so hard on my Dean, but we'll get him there. We'll get him there.
So, we had so much fun making those rooms, you know, making the taxidermy room, the medical room, the book room, the taxidermy room.
Great
my
imagery.
favorite. I like that taxidermy
Great imagery.
room. So, and then I had my friend's little brother had that snake and had the snake come down. And the clothes were, for Tommy, had to be perfect. Those pants had to be perfectly pleated, and it looks great.
Amazing.
So Rolling Stone came down. I was kind of not a big fan of them coming down because they have people with cameras in my way. It was really tight. The place was very small. Anyhow, they came down, and I couldn't thank them enough because what they did, you can't really pay money for this kind of.
Thank you so much for checking out Scream Queen Stream. We hope you loved it as much as we do.
If you want to see more of our videos, check out our YouTube page. And while you're there, how about you subscribe? You want to see more? Just tweet us. Find us on Facebook. Join in on the fun.
And most importantly, if you really want to join us on this crazy ride, check out our Patreon page and become a patron for amazing, awesome perks that we give out monthly.
As well as early access to all of our videos.
Free giveaways.
And a whole lot more fun shit.
So check it out.
We'll see you there.
Stay bloody.
You stole my tagline.
I did.
You're a horrible friend.